ask it during. Yeah, hey, what's going on, peoples? I have on, okay, I don't want to butcher it, but here we go. Align? Aline?
No, Aline, A like
Oh,
Allison, and then Lynn, Aline.
oh, that's
Very
beautiful.
old French name,
Oh,
very
it's
difficult for
lovely.
Anglophones.
Oh, it's lovely though. And Cormier, I discovered you from, I don't even know, just the internet of the internet. And I discovered that you have done over 750 feature film analyzations of movies from a feminist perspective. And I'm so intrigued by that. I've loved movies since forever. And I read some of your blog stuff last night, just kind of dissecting some of the movies that one, just a couple of them. And it was fascinating. It was so. Came into my feminism pretty recently, and it certainly has changed my perspective on movies and the world around me. So when I watch a movie now, things that you mentioned in your blog really do stick out to me. So I love your work, and it's very profound. And I don't even know where to
Thank
start,
you.
honestly. How did you get into doing that, or I don't know what inspired you to do that.
Well, it started around 2015. So I am, thanks very much for having me on, by the way.
No problem. No problem.
Um, in 2015, I began writing a book about the sexualization of women in media and violence against women.
Mm-hmm.
And that book covered 5 media, so pornography, film, television, magazines, and music videos. But my film chapter was getting too unwieldy. I mean, it was over 100
Oh wow.
pages of, 8.5 by 11 pages. So I decided that I would take that chapter out, or sorry, that comes later.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting ahead of myself here.
It's okay.
Okay, I had too much information in that chapter, but I didn't want to lose it because it's really fascinating information and I thought it could be useful to women. So I decided to make a film guide. And that way I could keep that information and I wouldn't feel that I had to have it in my first book. So that's how the film guide began. I think I began writing it in 2018. And I had analyzed over 700 movies. Now I'm up to over 750 movies
Mm-hmm.
analyzed for the first book, and I turned 500 of those into film reviews.
Amazing. Is that the stuff on
That's
your blog, or what do you mean by film review? Or is that from the
um
book?
so the film guide has film reviews that are very, very detailed film
Mm-hmm.
reviews. And on my website, in my book blog, that's just typically I just take one aspect of the movie to discuss. So either the sexualization or the violence against women and
Mm-hmm.
girls or the silencing of the female characters. I don't discuss it all like I would in a film review.
Gotcha. So what was the first book you were writing? What was that focused on?
Um, so the sexualization of women and girls in media and violence against women and girls all over the world. So very, very broad.
Yeah.
Um, so the film guide hasn't been published yet. I'm still looking for a publisher.
Mm. Especially now. Have you had difficulties with that? Have
Well,
you
I
been
haven't.
actively seeking publishers, or have you not gotten there yet?
No, I'm actively seeking a publisher. I had a reputable Canadian publisher
Mm-hmm.
who contacted me in March and said, "Looks good. We're interested, or I'm interested." This was the editor in chief of the publishing
Yeah.
company, and we started talking about it. We exchanged a dozen emails, and then he
Hmm.
said, "But I'm only one of 3 people on the editorial team, and our process of deciding whether or not to publish a book takes 6 to 8 months. So,
Jeez.
it's a very long process.
Uh huh.
So I'm waiting, basically."
Is he serious? Is that usual? I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
curious if
That
that's
this
one of
is
those like BS things, like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a book about women issues. And we all know nowadays, writing a book about especially the transgender stuff, publishers would drop you at the as soon as they figure out what your book is about. I've heard that. I think I don't know if that happened to Linda. I can't remember now. It feels like every woman I know who has written a book has had their publisher drop them. So I was curious if that's what you ran into. I didn't know if that was like a runaround thing, like, or I guess maybe he was. I don't know. Maybe he kind
I
of
don't think
sensed
it's a
something.
runaround.
Okay,
I
good.
do believe that it's really that is the process, because
Okay.
when you send proposals to publishers, on their websites, it says very matter of
Okay.
factly, this process, even reading your manuscript and getting back to you can take 6 to 8 months or longer, or whatever. I mean, it's just very slow.
Yeah.
So, which is difficult when
Yeah.
you're an impatient person and you can't wait to share this information.
Yeah.
Hence the book blog, hence,
Yep.
the Japanese sock videos. So it's a
Can
way
you
of,
explain that? I have an idea of why that was, but if you would like to explain that.
okay, so I have a YouTube channel that I started that I just began posting clips from movies, just scenes that I found uplifting. And then I decided I wanted to share information about movies. So I started my Japanese sock videos, which are, so instead of seeing me speaking, because I hate being in the limelight, I just film my feet wearing a pair of socks that I got for Christmas. And they're Japanese socks. Like, they have artwork on them from um I can't remember his
Isn't
name
that a
right
famous
now.
painting? Like the yeah.
Yes.
I also thought it was quite hilarious and maybe unintentional or intentional to bring in the feet fetish people, like unintentionally. Have you ever thought
I
of that?
I hope I don't have any of those.
Oh,
If
I
I
guarantee
do,
it.
I'm
Those
not
people
a
definitely exist. This is a random side note, but I did a photo shoot just having fun with my husband, like when we first met, and I was wearing like fun socks, and it was like me in a bathtub just being girly. I have no idea. And I uploaded that to DeviantArt, and I got so many comments like "nice socks," and then I was like, "Oh, this is like fetishy content," and I wasn't doing that for fetish feet sock stuff, but wow, is that a I mean, is that shocking? No, of course it's not. But I was like, ew. So I pretty sure quickly took that shit down.
No, I realize that some men have feet fetishes, but I just didn't imagine that these videos could actually attract them,
Hey man,
because
if it brings them in to listen to what you're saying, I was like, that's brilliant marketing, dude.
well, if they do listen, they will likely learn something.
Yeah,
That's
go
great.
figure. Wow, isn't that how interesting it is of listening to people? Wow, and having a conversation and not shutting it down. Sorry, I don't know if I cut you off and you explaining
I
that.
I don't think they would stay long, though, honestly, because it's really feminist
I know, right?
commentary. My feminist views very much inform my film commentary and my film reviews, so I can't see a foot fetishist for staying for very long.
True. Yep, so we explained that one. That was just me curious on what that was, but hey, man. Did you even fully explain it before I cut off and went on my tangent thing? I think you
About
did.
the film guide or about the Japanese sock
It
videos?
started with the Japanese sock thing, and then I guess is that the verbal version of the what the blog stuff you do? Is that kind of the same?
Yes, that's
Okay.
exactly it. Is I take the book blog post and I basically just read it.
Wow, how many blog posts do you have? I didn't get through enough last night. Couldn't
I
stop reading. What else did I
have
go to bed?
done dozens, and I haven't made all that many Japanese sock videos.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But I mean, really, what I need to get out is the film guide, because each review provides information on lots of different aspects, right? The violence perpetrated against the female characters, how they are sexualized, how they're silenced, if they're silenced, all kinds of things, language used.
Yeah, let's get into an example because I know
Sure.
I'm sure you'd love to because what you do. I don't know if you wanted to pick a movie or whatnot.
Well, I
It's up to
hear
you.
you are a big fan of American Beauty.
Well, I was. I mean, it's just one of the I liked a lot of messed up movies like Donnie Darko, Train Spotting. Honestly, movies that I really loved was like Drugs. I don't know what you call Lars von Trier. His movies are super fucked up, and honestly, I wish I never saw Midsummer, and I'm very serious. Um, I
I saw his the first movie of his I saw. I was
Which one was
in
it?
high school or university. I can't remember the name, but it's about a family reunion in a house, and it takes place over a weekend, I think.
Is it a
And
lake
maybe
house? No. Is it?
no, I don't think so. And it's the father's birthday
Hmm.
or something. I can look it up. And it's it's we discover that the children were sexually abused by the father.
Lovely.
Yeah, I mean it.
His movies are so fucked up. And I used to like really messed up films like that just because I actually don't know. And maybe it's just morbid curiosity. But now I'm like, nah, dude. There's some movies that I'll just say it. The most messed up film I've ever seen is Martyrs, and that's one of those films that I usually don't even like say the name of it because it's horrific. But wow, some movies I'm just like, why is this being made? Why was that made? I don't know. It's so fucked up beyond.
Um, I'm just checking IMDb, and I haven't
Mm,
found the name of this movie, but
sounds messed up
it
regardless.
it was messed up. And life is short, you know, and there's no need for us to watch every single movie that was ever made.
Yeah.
And women
Yep.
especially, I mean, we have very busy schedules. We don't have a lot of time. We don't have to watch everything.
Yeah.
So there's
And
some movies you can just take a pass on.
yeah, 100%. Plus, everything you see and hear goes into your brain. You can't exactly do the Dumbledore taking the memory thing out or whatever. You can't remove imagery and really psychological, just really dark imagery, and to me, demonic and just awful. I mean, that stuff's going to be in your head forever. So, do you really want to spend time watching stuff that is really going to shift your perspective in not a great way, you know? I don't, I think that movies have a really profound effect on humans beyond. A lot of people mimic movies, I think, on a subconscious or a deliberate level. I've seen
Hmm.
the I
Yeah.
Love You Now Die documentary about that girl that convinced her boyfriend to kill himself. She was obsessed with the show Glee. She literally, like, parroted quotes from the show, and she modeled herself off one of the female characters from the show, and her boyfriend was modeled after the I think there was an actor that wound up killing himself, and then it was just wild. I was like, wow, just I
Well,
mean that
people
right
parrot
there.
movies all the time. Think
Yeah,
about just the Top Guns. I feel the need for speed,
I haven't seen
right?
that one.
You haven't seen
Go
Top
on.
Gun?
Uh, I don't think
So
I've seen
it,
the whole thing. I thought you were saying I feel the need for speed is
oh
a
no, like,
movie.
sorry. So in
Is that what they
Top
say?
Gun, one of the guys, I can't remember if it's Tom Cruise or somebody else, and maybe they say it more than once. They say, I feel the need
Right.
for speed.
Yeah.
And guys and boys say that. They quote that in real life. They've quoted it in other movies. If you've seen,
Oh
for
yeah.
example, The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel,
No.
a little boy says that.
Yep.
And he's parroting,
Yeah.
he's quoting that movie. And we're talking about a movie that came out in the 1980s, and The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel came out recently, was
Yeah.
released recently,
Yep.
right? So,
That sounds like a
no,
more innocent way of mimicking a movie, but I think we can all imagine, like, the example I gave of how
mm-hmm.
bad, you know, seeing
Oh,
something that's really
definitely.
messed up. Yeah. Can you
Yeah,
provide any
I was
examples or?
providing a benign example,
Yeah.
but there
Yeah.
are definitely more messed up examples. And I was giving you a hard time about American Beauty,
Oh, no, I know. It's
about
fine. No,
liking
you're
American Beauty.
fine.
I
Hey.
think I think you don't actually enjoy that movie anymore. Okay?
Oh, well, yeah, if I were to watch it now, I don't think I would even want to watch it now. I think this is what I say about actors like Kevin Spacey, something I've come to realize that I don't really believe these people. Okay, I think that the actors that are really good at the gig that they're typecasted into, or, it's usually like the angry boss or the assertive woman. I feel like these people are genuinely that in real life. So if you're a repeated creep in movies, because I watched Kevin Spacey, the
He's
movie
very
about the
good
guy.
at anger, at
Kevin
conveying
Spacey is really good
anger
at just being
and
creepy. Just
freaking out, like
creepy.
having a
Mm-hmm.
losing his mind.
Mm-hmm.
He's done it in so many movies,
Yeah.
right?
I'm like, why are you so good at that? I think that that's your natural behavior in real life. You don't have to try really to achieve these personas because it really lives in you. So, is it really acting that much, especially when they're great actors? I don't think, for me personally, I don't think so. That's just me.
Well, I'm less concerned about the way actors behave in their
Mhm.
personal lives. I'm much more concerned with the way they act in movies.
Yeah.
So how they treat women and girls, the female characters.
Yep.
Um, American Beauty, though, that could have been called the tale of the bullying pedophile.
Yeah. Ooh, go on. I honestly haven't seen it in a while, so I don't. It'd be really interesting, honestly, to watch now to pick up on things where I'm like, oh wow, you know.
He's so it's filmed in such a way that he is supposed the viewer is supposed to sympathize with his character, but
Yep.
he's a bully and
Hmm.
a pedophile.
Who did he bully? I honestly,
That
it's been
that's
forever.
his wife.
Hmm.
It's really, well,
Yeah.
he bullies both his wife and his daughter,
Yeah.
but it's a very messed up movie.
Mm-hmm.
He so he shouts at her in more than one scene, and then after he shouts at her, he smiles.
Mm.
Like
Yeah, you're right.
he
Creepy yet again.
enjoys.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
no, that movie has. I'm just
Are you trying to
looking at my
dissect your
review
long
of
write
it.
up? Yeah. I mean, if you
It's
can literally read sections of it or the whole thing, doesn't matter.
well, I can't do that, but it has very little to offer female viewers.
Yeah.
Um,
What
the
movies do?
Well, and that's the thing, right? When you get a movie that does have a lot to offer female viewers, it becomes a favorite,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like Little Women has been remade, I don't know how many times, 5 times or
Oh,
something.
wow. I didn't know that. Hmm.
The latest being the 2019
I watched it recently on the plane.
adaptation, I think. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that movie has more to offer female viewers than I think any other movie ever made.
Wow. What about Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants? I'm trying to think of like overtly girly movies. I don't know. I have no idea if that's a movie that's like yay positive messages for women, or is it like I don't even know how to frame that, like lib
Off the top
friendship.
of my head, I don't remember. I think it did have a lot to offer female viewers.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing is when you've written and when you have taken notes, detailed notes on over 750 movies,
Yeah.
you tend to forget a lot.
Yeah. Easily.
So I find when I'm asked about films, I have to go back to my notes, to either my
Mm-hmm.
reviews or my actual. I have 6 or 7 binders full of notes
Wow.
from movies because I mean, this is what I do when I watch a movie. I've got a notepad and a pen, and I
Love it.
take usually I take 2 to 4 pages of notes, but for some movies it's a lot more. Like I think for Gone with the Wind, I took 12 pages of notes
Oh, easily.
and
Yeah.
then condensed that into movie review that's
Mm-hmm.
much shorter, right? Like
Yeah.
try to fit it on one page kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but to go back to American Beauty, if I
Yeah. Yeah. Please.
can
Please.
do
Yeah.
that. Um, Teenage
Absolutely.
girls are hypersexualized and pornographized. Females are demeaned, insulted, silenced, bullied. They are rude to each other, and for the most
Mm-hmm.
part, they are unhappy. There are no congenial relationships between females.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm not saying that a movie that has those things couldn't have anything to offer female viewers,
Right.
but this one doesn't, right? Like I would like to hear somebody try to make a case for what American Beauty has to offer female viewers.
Devil's advocate kind of a thing. Like, could it teach women, like, I don't even know if this is beneficial. I mean, I feel like it is how men think. Like, if men write this kind of shit, does that make sense? Like, it could,
Right,
like,
but
be a warning or of some sort, or, like, educational. You know what I mean? Like, inside the mind of a man, which is basically every movie.
well, that's the thing, is
Yeah.
that we have over 100 years of traditional cinema, and
Mm-hmm.
filmmakers have been predominantly men that entire time.
Yeah.
I think we've got a pretty good grasp of how men think. What we need now
Oh,
is
yeah,
more,
true.
we need a lot more movies by women filmmakers,
Yes. Yep.
especially, filmmakers like Greta Gerwig, who made Little Women, who insert into movies so much for female viewers. That's rare.
You
It's
know what I
very
loved
rare.
about the recent Little Women? I will say, and I'm just critical about every movie, whatever, it's my own opinion anyway. I thought it was long, but I mean, whatever. It's just a very detailed movie. But what I loved about how what they were able to capture in the recent Little Women is the like loving elements of a room filled with women just
Mm-hmm.
chatting and braiding each other's. I don't want to. It sounds stereotypical, but it's like it's so much more than like it's just one of the things you really have to watch for yourself. Like me saying it doesn't do any kind of effect, but it was such a lovely. I really felt like the sisterhood of like safety and mother and daughter, friendship, laughing, poking fun. I don't know, and you can only
There,
find that with women in women's spaces with
yeah.
no men. I anyway.
There are lots of congenial, affectionate relationships between female characters, sisters, mother, daughter, and you don't get that in a lot in most movies. The relationships between women are antagonistic.
Mm-hmm.
They're hostile.
Wow.
So, movies that are where the screenplay is written by women, typically you don't have that,
Of
right? So
course.
some like 9 to 5, which came out
Such a
in
great movie.
1980, I think,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Hilarious.
Congenial, great friendships between
Yep.
women.
I'm gonna play dumb here. Why would men put that in films? Is that to like pit us against each other in real life? Like, ew, women. Ugh, yeah, that's right. Women are catty, or women. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's so many of parts of movies is like programming and, um, yeah,
They,
implanting things in your brain about society.
yeah, well, I think the male filmmakers typically only include females as for their sex appeal, as sex objects, as supportive roles, to play supportive roles, or to pit them against each other. I think they just have so
Hmm.
their interest in women is so limited
Hmm.
that explains
Hmm.
why we get those portrayals. That's my take on it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, I mean, if you look at the number of movies where you don't even see, you don't even ever get two women speaking to each other.
Yeah, I thought that was
Um,
so interesting. I saw one of your movie discussions. I'm sure, obviously, it wasn't. It was more than one movie, but the one I don't remember what movie it
so
was.
I'll give you a
Yeah,
list of movies.
please do.
Okay, in
Yeah.
these movies, no two women ever speak. Armageddon, the Shawshank Redemption, Rain Man, High Plains Drifter, Casablanca, Dunkirk, Miller's Crossing, Casino Royale,
Hmm.
Batman, The Mummy
Hilarious.
that came out in 1999, The Jungle Book, 2016,
Wow.
Misery, A Clockwork Orange, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I mean, I could go on, right? They're just, they aren't interested. Male filmmakers have shown over the last
Yeah.
100 plus years that they are disinterested in showing women interact positively. They don't mind showing women interacting negatively,
Hmm.
right? Hostilely. They do that all the time. But it seems like it's only female filmmakers who are interested in showing us having
That says
congenial, affectionate relationships.
that says a whole hell of a lot about men just even listening to women or being, having that even remotely be on their radar of as simple as having a tiny one-off dialogue with two women. Like that's I was wondering in those movies I'm going to assume that there's more than one woman cast in it. The ones you just listed off because obviously otherwise there couldn't
Um,
be a chance where they could talk to another woman. It says a lot.
no, not necessarily. So for
Hmm.
some of those movies, maybe there wasn't more than one named woman. But
Hmm.
having women speak generally does not seem to interest male filmmakers. Like, okay,
What?
if you
Oh.
if you look at the original Star Wars trilogy, have you
Hmm.
seen the original Star Wars trilogy?
My friend, it's so
If you
funny.
haven't, you're like one of the only people on the
The
planet.
original completely. I don't know. It's God. There's so much of like movies and TV
Like,
that.
okay, so
Yeah. Go ahead.
Star Wars, which is we now call it A New Hope, The Return of the Jedi, and the Empire Strikes Back. Have you
Uh huh.
seen those three?
I think so. Like, I honestly can't remember. I'd have to like. Yes, I'm gonna say yes. I'm not like what is
Okay.
Star Wars. I mean, I know that Leia is like a freaking slave, and little girls look up to that. Like ridiculous.
Well, I really like Princess Leia. I find her assertive. But
Yes.
if you look at how much speaking time female characters get in the original Star Wars trilogy, okay, if you took out Princess Leia from those three movies, um, the total speaking time for female characters is 63 seconds.
I'm
Like
gonna
she is
play.
the
Yeah.
only significant female character in that trilogy. So I didn't do the timing because timing speaking time for female characters isn't
Hmm.
something that really interests me. So I rarely do it. But Julia Baird wrote in the New York Times in 2016, if you took Princess Leia out of Star Wars, the total speaking time for female characters is 63 seconds out of the original trilogy's 386 minutes.
Wow. I'm going to play the male here and be like, well, why would you put in women speaking? Because there's only one female main character. Why would you force? I don't know. It's just like,
Why wouldn't you have more female characters? You know, when I named all of those movies where you don't ever get two women speaking to each other, how
hmm,
many movies can you name in which there are no two men who speak to each other?
I love that question. So interesting.
I can name two, and one is a remake of the first one. So,
I'm going to guess, was it a woman director or a filmmaker? That seems too obvious.
um, I'll check. So, The Women came out in 1939. And in that
Hmm.
movie, we don't ever see a man. It's
Whoa.
only female characters. It was directed by George Cukor,
Hmm.
I believe is the pronunciation of
It's
his
called
name.
The Women.
The Women.
Hmm.
Okay, there we never see a man.
Hmm.
It's just women. So, yes, no two men ever speak. There was a remake, someone made a remake in 2008. Same thing. No two men ever speak because there are no men in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was directed by Diane English.
Hmm.
Someone sent me the title of another movie in which no two men ever speak, but I can't remember what it is. But
Hmm.
basically, I have heard of three movies in which
Yeah.
no two men ever speak. And I can name
Countless. All of
like
them, basically.
dozens of movies in
Every movie
which,
ever.
like in my first book, I have a list actually.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many, many movies, right, in which no two women ever speak.
Yep.
So this is
Yep.
one indication that male filmmakers do not have an interest in seeing that. I mean, there are a lot of things that don't interest male filmmakers
Mm-hmm.
that really interest female filmmakers.
Yeah, but when men are interested in having women in their films, like you're right up about, I've seen the poster, but 42 meters down. I mean, incredibly disturbing
47.
and Yeah, excuse me. I don't know why we're two. I mean, incredibly disturbing, yet zero shocking, obviously. Can you describe that? I'm sure this is, I think that exists in so many horror movies, honestly, of what goes on with women in that movie, you know?
47 meters down has nothing, practically nothing to offer female viewers. Um, so there are a lot of interactions between females because
Mm,
it's mostly female characters, but they are being terrified for most of the movie, and they're
right.
being sexualized. And
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, so are we talking about 47 meters down or
Oh,
the
this,
sequel, 47
I,
meters down
I guess it's the
uncaged?
sequel, yeah. About the
Okay,
faintest. Ugh.
so 47 meters down uncaged, which was released in 2019, um, has, I think, four significant female characters, teenage girls that are still in high school. And we see them whimpering, shrieking, screaming, crying. They're chased repeatedly. The camera focuses again and again on their bare legs, their close-ups of their screaming faces, and slow motion shots of their agonies. And you have to wonder who finds this enjoyable.
Exactly.
If you
Yep.
compare that 47 meters down uncaged to Jaws,
Mm.
there's a huge difference between those two. In Jaws, there's only one significant female character, um, the lead male's wife, Lorraine Gary.
Mm-hmm.
That's the actress's name. She
Mm-hmm.
plays Ellen Brody. So
Mm-hmm.
Ellen Brody is never in any danger. She's never hunted by a shark.
Yeah.
And then you could say, well, look, Jaws only has one significant character. Fine. She's treated very well,
Mm-hmm.
or relatively well,
Yeah.
right? She's never in any danger. But then you go to 47 meters down uncaged, and two or three of the girls die before the end. No, I think it's two of them. I think two of them make it out alive,
Mm-hmm.
but two of them are grabbed by the waist by a great white shark.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
It's so blatant. It's like, really, dude? Ugh, God, most of those movies, I mean, those are trash movies to begin with, but like, why is this shit being made? It's so clearly like softcore, violent
it
porn
was
shit.
torturous to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
It
sure.
was not. It was not enjoyable. It's
Can't
not
believe you
like
sat through
watching
that.
Little Women.
Polar opposite, it sounds like.
Exactly. Um, so what I wrote in my book blog for that was that the girl's terror begins somewhere around the 30 to 35-minute mark and continues until the last 30 seconds or so of the movie. So for well over half of the
Jesus.
movie, female viewers are shown terrified girls, and after all that, all we get is 1 minute, one peaceful minute at the very end.
Wow, that sounds horrible. Who wants to watch that?
Well,
Yeah.
I can see
Yeah.
misogynists wanting to watch
Of
this.
course, absolutely.
You know,
$100%.
if you hate women and girls,
Oh, yeah.
why wouldn't you want to watch a movie where where they look terrified
Yep.
throughout, where their lives are in danger, where they're getting ripped apart by sharks,
Yep.
right? It's like a
Yep.
misogynist dream.
Exactly.
But for a woman or for a female viewer,
I wouldn't even step foot into watching crap like that. I mean, not even a huge fan of horror genre to begin with. I mean, I love The Shining and whatnot, but
of all the genres, horror has the least to offer female
oh,
viewers.
100%. Dude, I tried watching American Werewolf in London because I have loved special effects makeup for a while now, and I thought I was going to do that at some point in my life. And I follow Rick Baker or some of these special effects artists, and I'm like, oh, they keep seeing that on my Instagram, the nostalgia photos from that set. So I tried watching it. Unbearable. Like the main, first of all, the opening scene is like two men shooting the shit in some foreign country, talking about like I don't know, forcing their bodies or whatever on women, just total misogyny, just gross male talk, whatever. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be terrible. But then the male character like meets up with there's multiple things. It's a total shit show. I'm like, why was this movie ever praised? How is it still praised? It's so blatantly rapey and like just it's like a male fantasy. There's a scene where he's in the hospital and the nurse like sexily comes on to him and they kiss and she's all like bimbo-y. It's just the whole thing is like, what is this? I mean, that right there is already setting males up to be like, oh, this. I mean,
Well, that's the thing is that the
it was so blatant.
most movies cater to male desires and fantasies, men's desires and fantasies.
Yeah. It was so blatant though. I was like, what the
So,
fuck is this? I can't believe this was ever. I mean, I know films back then were like so overtly, or not even just films and life, so beyond sexist and just disgusting. And that shit was so normalized. Yeah, there's another part where he was like taking this girl back or woman back to his apartment and just like the look on his face, like I don't even think it was necessarily acting. Like it's acting, but I'm like, dude, it's so rapey. And the girl is like giggly and like like loves it. Or like, but is also like, no, but yes. I'm like, oh, like this is horrible. So I mean,
there,
that was made in what, the 70s or 60s? No, not 60s.
well, it could very
80s?
well have been the 80s and
Horrible.
90s were kind of the golden age of film for women.
Hmm.
The portrayals and treatment of women and girls in the 80s and 90s were better on average than they are now.
Hmm.
There's been
Hmm.
an escalation actually
Interesting.
in the amount of violence and the sexualization. Now it's
Hmm.
hypersexualization that
Go
is the
figure.
norm, right? And so what you were, I haven't seen the film that you
Oh
were
Lord.
talking about, but um, so the female character's
I couldn't even
reaction
finish it, by
to
the way. I just had to
his,
say that. I couldn't even finish it. I was like, turn this shit off. This is terrible. Sorry, go ahead.
right? Well, so this is really important. The way female characters react to unwanted touching and inappropriate behavior. And that's something that I discuss in my film guide because if it's one thing that filmmakers can do is normalize this behavior by making it appear acceptable. So if the
Yep.
female characters are going along with it, and there's no reproof, then that's what female viewers are learning. That's what male viewers are learning. So
Exactly.
if, what's
Oh,
that
it's just
movie?
movies. It's not real life. I'm like, nah, dude. Like this has a lot of programming and yeah, like I said, mimicry, even on a level that is, I believe, very subconscious. Like, yeah, you see that, and women,
Well,
and
so male viewers internalize the message that it's all right, it's acceptable to behave like that,
they like it.
to grab women and kiss them and
Mm-hmm.
touch their
Yes.
bottom without being invited to do so.
Yep.
And female viewers get the message that this is not only is it normal for males to behave this way, but when they
Right.
do behave this way, they don't need to say anything about it, right? Not to, it discourages having boundaries. It
Mm-hmm.
discourages women and girls from saying, don't touch me,
Yep.
get off me, that's totally unacceptable,
Yep.
etc., right? Because they keep seeing female characters in movies just going along with it, just giggling or not saying anything,
Yep.
or worse yet, um, falling in love with the male character, right? So he's acting inappropriately, and her response is to fall in love instead of saying, you're a creep or you're unprofessional, right? If
Yeah.
this is happening in the workplace, and it
Oh yeah.
often does.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
And instead of saying, right, that's totally unacceptable, going along with it, well, it just contributes to the problem,
Of course it does. Yeah.
right?
It's like role models, you know. Just is that gonna what is that modeling for humans, males and females?
Yeah, well, if I could read to you a short quote
Sure. Yeah.
about 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 the media and the media's influence on how the media shapes our perceptions. Okay, so Gloria Steinem said in a public lecture she gave in 2014 entitled Media, More Real Than Reality, begin quote, yet, because we are communal creatures, the media campfire is still where we learn what is normal, what is possible, what is desirable. Even if we're informed enough to know that the media are not reality, reality is reality, they still are the biggest force shaping what reality will become. End quote.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So not only do we need more female filmmakers getting their movies out there, getting funding for their projects. I mean, because they're out there. There are lots and lots of female filmmakers. They're just not getting the money that male filmmakers are getting.
Yeah.
And to make what a lot of male filmmakers are making garbage. And
Yes.
yet they're given millions to make these movies. Whereas a lot of great female filmmakers, their screenplay may be resting in a, on their desk for years because they just can't get the funding.
Yeah. I mean, if they write women to movies, or if they're in movies and they don't have them speak, it says a lot about even listening to them in real life. Hello, it all adds up. It's not rocket science.
Do we have time to go back to
we have enough.
American
We have all the time.
Beauty?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, let's play a game with
Okay.
American Beauty, okay? Okay, I'm going to take a movie guide review of American Beauty.
Aye.
Okay, so this is one of the many movie guides I have, okay? It's very mainstream. Okay, so I'm going to read you the review for American Beauty, and while you and your audience are listening, try to make note of what information is provided in this review about two things: the way the female characters are treated, and secondly, the way they're portrayed. Just those two things, okay? So it says,
So, hey, commercial break. You can support my work by joining the Rational Revolution on my Subscribestar, which is subscribestar.com/distortedlens. Or you can donate directly through my PayPal, which should be some link somewhere around here. I'll put it up. Just want to have a commercial break and make sure that you support my work. If you enjoy the work that I do, if you get any sort of entertainment, any sort of education, and you just want to support my work, you can do that by doing one of the things I just mentioned. So, back to the show.
American Beauty. When a film begins with the voiceover of a middle-aged man telling us that in a year from now he'll be dead, we know we're in for something different. Lester Burnham, that's in parentheses Spacey, so that's Kevin Spacey, is the quintessential middle-class white American trapped in a life that has leached him of all passion and zeal. On the outside, he has much to envy: great house, great lifestyle, attractive wife, in parentheses Benning, so that's Annette Bening, and daughter. But as we delve beneath the surface, we begin to realize that all is not roses in the Burnham household. His marriage has deteriorated into a campaign of snide comments and sarcasm, and his daughter is ambivalent towards him, an insult far greater than hate or rebellion. So when he catches the eye of her beautiful friend Angela, that's Mina Suvari, it's enough to give his sad existence a new lease of excitement and purpose. Mendes, so that's Sam Mendes, directorial debut was the archetypal 90s film that expressed the repressions of American suburbia, peering through the curtains like a raincoat-wearing voyeur and delving into the characters' lives in an intrusive manner. Lester's middle-life sexual obsession is more wake-up call than realistic chase, giving him a whiff of the excitement he once experienced when life was more meaningful. Meanwhile, his unsatisfied wife embarks on an affair with a sleazy estate agent, and his daughter becomes involved with a strange boy living across the road who videos her from his bedroom. Gradually, the apparently quiet neighborhood is revealed in all its quirky, ugly nakedness. Although the premise of the film is to find out who murdered Lester, it's not really that important. The reason for his death and the road that takes each character towards a motive are the issues dealt with here. Okay, what did we learn about the portrayals of the female characters? How are they described?
Well, the woman cheated on the husband. The daughter, I don't even know if they said anything about the daughter specifically.
There's nothing
Except the
said about
daughter had a beautiful, I don't even know if they used the word beautiful, but a friend. Did they say it like that?
yeah. Okay. So
Ew, it
the
was so
so
gross.
the,
So it was just like ridiculous. Like just leave
so
out the. Okay, sorry.
yeah, Annette Bening is described as attractive wife,
Huh.
and Mina Suvari
Ew.
is described as her as beautiful.
I love how they don't
The,
say the age. I don't know how old was she supposed to be in the movie. Does it really matter? She was in freaking high school, like a cheerleader. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's the oldest she could possibly be is 18, which is still disgusting to me. Obviously,
they're both in high school.
I love how the reviewer wrote, that his life is like a life to be envious of, and also the fact that when he looked in on that, his daughter's girlfriend, that somehow was a vision of like his better days. I don't know. I'm just like, really, dude?
I'm trying to look for something in my review about the ages,
I
but
like how
in
they
in
also.
any case,
Yeah.
it's pedophilia, and
Yes.
never once in the movie is the word pedophilia
Oh, of course not.
ever mentioned. Okay, so we basically the only thing we learn about their portrayals is about their looks. One's attractive, the other one's beautiful. Nothing else. There's
Because that's all they provide. Yeah.
okay, so what about
Pawns or
treatment?
accessories.
Do we discover anything in here about how they're
Yeah.
treated?
Something about, I forgot, the fighting or like bickering something. The wife to the husband. I
Right?
forgot the word they
So
used.
so it's a
Bitching,
bad
basically.
marriage. Their marriage has deteriorated into a campaign of snide comments and sarcasm. But what we don't learn is that the teenage girl is stalked by her neighbor who films
Yeah.
her through her bedroom window.
Yeah. Fucking
Did
creepy.
we find that did it say that?
They did say that, but it was kind of just brushed over. Like,
It
the
says
the
so the
yeah.
word stalking isn't used for sure. It's
No.
um
Just filmed through the window. Peeping Tom much? Like, hello? It's literally what that shit is. But make it cute, right?
it says his daughter becomes involved with a strange boy living across the road who videos her from his bedroom. That's really watered down.
Yeah, it is. That kid
Um
was messed up.
it it doesn't say that he bullies his daughter, that Kevin
Also,
Spacey bullies Annette Bening
you
and
know
Thora
what's
Birch's daughter.
so
Or
interesting about the daughter is that she didn't she become friends with that creepy boy neighbor, and but wouldn't she be more inclined to befriend a male because there's a lacking male father figure in her life? Do you know what I'm saying? Where you would accept more of a, uh usually if you had a good father figure in your life, I would think a female would be like, alert, this kid is creepy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
right, but
look at how
the
they're framing
girl, so
that.
the teenage girl doesn't have a good relationship with anyone.
Yeah.
Not with her mother, not with her father, not with her best friend, who's played by Mina Suvari. The only person she has a sort of good relationship with is the stalker next door.
Yeah.
That's it. Um, Annette Bening slaps herself in the movie. She she insults herself.
Oh,
I
wow.
can't remember what she calls herself,
I remember that, yeah.
but the relationship between Annette Bening and her daughter is just terrible.
Mm. I don't remember. I believe it.
Well, okay, so the thing is that you don't find out, and I mean, okay, so the violence that appears in American Beauty is is not severe,
Mm-hmm.
is relatively not severe, right? Um, the slapping, the bullying, the stalking, right? It could be murder, it could be rape, but it isn't, right? So, but for a lot of movies, women are murdered
Mm-hmm.
and there are rapes, right? And you just in most film reviews, you don't find that out.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
some women would rather not watch movies in which women or girls are raped.
Yeah.
That's on their list of that's a like a deal breaker. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to I want to steer clear of these movies.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason why I focus on the treatment and portrayals of women and girls
Yep. I mean,
in my film guide.
yeah, that obviously has a huge effect on people seeing that. Like, unbelievably. Yeah, you talked about the age gap between a man and a woman in movies. Can you discuss more about that?
The the age gap between men and so that's just generalized. So it's very, very rare to see the lead female and the lead male be the same age, right?
Are you talking
Typically
about this is real life, and obviously not the portrayal how their ages are in the movie, but in real life, their ages.
in real
Yeah,
life, typically, and yeah, typically, I'm just trying to find examples of that.
it's okay. Well, I think
Um,
it's women, once you're past the age of, you can keep looking while I chat, but once women get past the age of like 35 in Hollywood, like you start playing a grandmother when you're like 34. I don't know. Like, I think it just reinforces the idea that women are supposed to be perfect and kept forever young, and men are, they age and they get sexier and they're more rugged, and there's no pressure on them, at least not as much as with women, to be all nipped and tucked and just kept that forever young facade or just image. And plus, it's just women being used as that accessory and arm candy and trophy thing that they're just there to look good.
exactly. So I'll give you just so for just one example in Avengers Infinity War, which came
Mm-hmm.
out in 2018, really big movie. Okay, Robert Downey Jr. is paired with Gwyneth Paltrow, who is 13 years his junior. Paul Bettany is paired with Elizabeth Olsen, who is 18 years his junior. Mark Ruffalo is paired with Scarlett Johansson, who is 17 years his junior.
Yeah.
Like why why were none of the men paired with women their age?
That puts so much serious pressure on. Yeah, I think
Well,
that has a lot
or
of
maybe some were. Maybe I didn't
yeah.
right? But why were three of the men paired with women who are so much younger?
I think that has a really psychological effect on women on how they're supposed to look and present. I don't know. I think that's so much
Definitely.
more damaging than meets the eye. Like, all this stuff is so subtle. That's what I mean by programming
Well,
and all that. It's just
well, and so if it were just one movie, right? So
oh yeah.
if you just so Love in the Afternoon, which came out in 1957, Gary Cooper is paired romantically with
God.
Audrey Hepburn, who's 28 years his junior. If you only had that movie, right, it would be okay, it's just a one off. But I have a very long list of movies for which the age gap is massive. Like it's routine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the norm in Hollywood.
It's the
Yep.
norm.
Yeah.
And so what message does that send both males and females, right?
Exactly.
It's so it sends the message to males, you it's
Mm-hmm.
norm for you to be with a much younger female, and it sends the message to females, well, it's the norm for you to be with a much older male.
This is so interesting because it also programs men to be like, oh, that's what I should be having at that age, but without knowing the age of the actresses in the movies, what you look for in real life is ridiculously younger. So it automatically they're looking for younger looking women, like just by
Mm-hmm.
the looks of it. That's like total program. I don't know. It's
Well, and I think it gives women it conveys the message to women that after a certain age,
yeah.
they're worthless.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You
Their
know, especially
beauty.
after
Yeah.
40. After 40, I mean, why are you still around?
Yeah. I mean, my mom
You're
said that
not around in
recently.
Hollywood, that's for sure.
Yeah, female beauty is everything. How old was that female actress in the original Lolita? Oh, Dude, I used to love
Oh,
that movie, fucked up. But I also have, guess what? Daddy issues. I used to like all those movies of like loving father figures, even if it was overly sexual. I can admit my own fucked up stuff. It's fine because I think to just admit stuff about yourself, it will help out other people. Like I have, had a father that was completely non-existent. I mean, he provided money for our family, but there's no hugs or like, how are you? Sorry, dad, mom. No, I'm not. Whatever. It's the reality. And I literally, I mean, I loved movies where it was a fatherly figure that really doted on and loved on a younger female girl, even in a sexual way. Like, that's how real this shit is. I mean, I
okay.
recognize it
So
now as not good. I mean, it's obviously figure that shit out and go to therapy, but that stuff is so real. Maybe I shouldn't say that because it gives men like the, oh, whatever. Men already know. Men didn't know to prey on. This shit falls into their lap, honestly. Non-existent fathers and then women that are promiscuous or they don't know what male to date because they don't have any model of like a good man. So of course they wind up dating all the wrong men. Blah 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 blah. Whatever.
the original Lolita came out in 1962. It starred Sue Lyon. That's her name. Um, and I'm just trying to find her
I'm gonna
age.
guess. I'm gonna do a wild guess. Her age, I'm gonna guess, is like 25, and his age, I'm gonna guess, is like
Oh no, she's a teenager.
42. Really, in real life?
No, in the yeah,
No, I
sorry.
know, but what were
In
their
the
ages in real life?
in real life.
Yeah. Actually, both. I'm curious on both. Or, I know it was pedophilia, obviously. It was a really young girl. She was, yeah, like a teen, like 12 or 13 or some shit. I'm just curious the real ages.
46. So she was 10, 14. So she was 16 in real life.
What? She was 16 years old?
Yep.
Oh my god. What the
Because
fuck?
she was born in 1946 and the movie was made in, well, it was released in 62. So we'll go on, it being made in 62. But maybe it was made in 61. I'm not sure. So James Mason,
41? I'm just guessing. 42?
let's
37.
see. I said 1962.
Yeah, something about, yeah, it came out in 40. I don't know.
Sorry about that.
Fine. You said something about 1946. I'm curious what that was.
Sorry. She must have been, Sue Lyon must have been born in 46. It
Oh,
came
okay,
out in
gotcha.
62. 19,
That's like 20.
he was 53. So he was
Oh my
53
god.
and she was
Are you serious?
16. But I mean, the whole story is just
In
so
real life?
gross in real life.
Did they not kiss and get intimate in that fucking movie? Did they? Oh. Oh my
Um,
god, dude.
I've
What the
got to
fuck? That's insanity.
so
Like, that's
so
so
I've got
wildly
to check
inappropriate.
my sexualization segment for Lolita. Um, so this
Wow.
is definitely a foot fetishist movie.
Like Tarantino shit? I'm sure
His
you've heard
movies
that.
have very little to offer female viewers.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Guess what? Oh, I used to love his movies. You know why? Because at a younger age, I was more masculine than feminine because I realized that the society looked at women as inferior and weak, and I didn't want to be that, so I was more like tomboy,
I think
at
that's
least with my
very, very
mind.
common. Very
Oh,
common.
oh yeah, for sure. Especially now, those girls are becoming non-binary and transing the female away to escape that shit.
Like, I think it's
Um,
a normal thing for teenage girls to say, well, normal as in
it's
it's
the
the norm.
protection. Yeah.
The norm. A lot of teenage girls say, my friends are guys, or I hate girl things. Right?
Yeah. That
That's
was me.
internalized misogyny.
Yeah,
Like
I had
we
so much
live
of
in
it. Yeah.
misogynist societies. That's what happens to us,
Yeah.
right? If we didn't live in misogynist societies, I think we would have teenage girls who would happily say, I've got lots of great girlfriends.
Yeah, and I like pink because why not? I used to
Or
just
well,
I hated
well,
it. I was like, ugh, girly, ew, pink,
well, but they
purple,
wouldn't be
ugh.
afraid of saying that. Like,
Yeah,
that's a regressive stereotype that pink is for girls, blue is for boys,
I
right?
know.
But
Yeah.
they wouldn't say I am allergic to everything that we associate with girls. or kind of think that subconsciously. I mean, they wouldn't articulate it that way,
Right.
but that seems to be what's going on with
Yeah.
teenage girls,
Yeah. I didn't want to
right?
be
And then as
called weak or looked at as if I were to wear the color pink, I would not want to be looked at as, what I thought was girly, which is not as strong, just wuss and not taken seriously. So I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that shit. I learned that at a very young age. Just being a woman, go figure. Yeah, I had, stepping into radical feminism, I really had to unpack a lot of internalized misogyny, and it was shocking. I grew up in
every woman
Georgia.
has to do that. In
Yeah.
Georgia,
Yeah,
fried green
conservative.
tomatoes,
Yeah,
gone with
oh,
the
I
wind.
love that movie, Fragrant Tomatoes. Shut up, don't tell me. Oh,
That has so much to offer female viewers. Fried green
it's one of my
tomatoes.
favorites, man. I cry every time. Such a great movie. Oh,
Affectionate, congenial relationships between
so
women.
loving. Yep.
Um,
Beaches. Another
beaches
favorite.
too. Affectionate, congenial relationships between women.
So touching. Yep.
In fried green tomatoes, solidarity. Okay, so we've got that, Gone with the Wind. What else is Georgia? What other movies from
Ooh.
Georgia? Oh, and so, like, speaking of Georgia, in
Mhm.
Atlanta, are there Gone with the Wind? I'm just curious. Sorry,
Yeah.
this has
No,
nothing to
don't. You're
do.
fine. Ask away.
Are there statues of
In Marietta,
Rhett Butler
Georgia,
and Scarlett?
I don't
And
think there. I mean, I'm sure that I don't know. This is a lot of stuff that I'd be curious about now. But I know in Marietta, Georgia, there was this. I think it was like a vintage shop. I don't know if it was a clothing shop or something, but they had. I'm sure it was replicas, but of her, green dress and the window.
yeah.
I mean, there definitely is a lot of, the founder of Girl Scouts, that woman, I believe that house is still there. I hope so in Atlanta, that little like
Oh, I
historical
didn't know that.
landmark. I think it's Girl Scouts. It's something like that. I think it is. I know there's some history in Savannah. Um, I'm sure, but that's a lot of stuff that is like when you're in Georgia, you're not really curious about that shit because it's already like around everyone. It's like being in New York City. You never go to the Statue of Liberty because it's like, it's right there. You get so used to it, and then
Right,
when you leave, you're like, oh, I should have done that or whatever.
right.
I'm sure there. I don't know about statues, but yeah, that movie is lovely. She's a fireball.
Um, Scarlett Johansson, or not Scarlett Johansson, Scarlett
Scarlet O'Hara.
O'Hara. Scarlett Johansson is a completely different matter.
Yeah.
Scarlett O'Hara, she is quite the character.
Yes. I think she's was definitely an icon with females. I'm just gonna take a wild guess there. I haven't done a lot of deep diving stuff with that, but
Yeah, I think a lot of women um, find her to be an enjoyable character. She's got a lot to offer.
yeah, especially how
She's very assertive.
yes, and I believe
She's
well at
very
least
strong.
when I see her be assertive, like I believe it. Like I believe she would act like that in real life. And I think it's just one of those things where if you're that good at portraying something like that, like being assertive, I mean, hello, doesn't that make sense? Like of course you're naturally assertive and a fireball in real life. You can easily tap into that while being filmed. That's just what I think.
I'm not sure that she was.
Don't tell me that. I want to believe.
Do you want to believe? Okay,
No,
okay.
tell me why. Why do you say that? I'm curious.
Um,
Because she's a female in Hollywood. Oh yeah, that's right.
well,
My bad.
she was English. Vivian Lee was English, and her I think her first marriage failed.
Mm,
I think she was an alcoholic.
mm.
Um, no, I don't think she had picture perfect life.
Well, I don't think any of us do. I mean, just because
No.
you're an alcoholic. I mean, Lord, Lisa Frank, my tattoos, I are based off her artwork. Um, there's this article thing that came out about her life, and I read it like 4 years ago after I got tattoos. It doesn't. My opinion on Lisa Frank has not changed, but wow, her life is so messed up, and I think it speaks so many volumes that her whole aesthetic is like rainbows and just mother and son like unicorn, just really adorable, happy. Everything about her artwork is so happy. And apparently this unicorn's name is Marky, and it was like her friend's son that died, and I was like, what? I had no
Oh.
idea. Like, just that's not even just her whole marriage was a shit show, really abusive husband, and I'm like, well, I think it's just obvious to me that if someone has a really messed up life and you're living in turmoil, that you surround yourself or you create happy things, happy art, joyful music, and that if you're overly exerting happiness, I'm always like, where I'm like, it doesn't seem authentic. That's just,
Hmm.
I don't know. I thought it
Hmm.
was really interesting and heartbreaking at the same time, and it really made me love her even more. We're all broken in some way, and I don't know. It was like heartbreaking but beautiful. If that makes sense. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
Anyhow, randomness. Yeah, yeah. It kind of doesn't surprise me if she was an alcoholic. Like, how many women numb themselves because you're a woman? I don't know.
So I'm just checking out the IMDb
Mm,
page for her. It says she suffered from bipolar disorder. She's twice divorced. So,
yeah,
it wasn't all roses.
yeah. Is it ever though? Is it ever?
I wish I could show you the illustration for Gone with the Wind that
Did you?
Stella
Oh,
made for my book.
if
So
I can totally throw it up or put it up on the thing here,
well, I can't
100%.
show it to you unfortunately because
Oh.
it's on my wall and it's
No, but when I
framed.
edit
But
the video, I can if you can send me the photo or I can find it online somehow or whatever.
oh,
If you want, that's up to
or
you.
I have some that aren't framed if you'd like to
Yeah, up to
see.
you.
And okay,
Oh.
so for your audience who doesn't know who Stella is,
Mm-hmm.
right? The British cartoonist, political
Mm-hmm.
cartoonist, Stella
Mm-hmm.
Perret. Okay, so am I showing this properly here?
Yeah, yeah.
So you can tell what
Yep.
movie,
Yep.
right? Star Wars.
Are these the
And
originals? No.
yeah, these are the originals.
She sent you the originals?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
that's how lucky
God.
I am. I'm a very,
Wow.
very lucky. Okay, so if I don't know if I'm
Yeah, here, lift it or pull it back a
aliens,
little bit. There you go. Yep.
aliens. Okay,
Is this
um,
ink or what?
yeah. So she did them in pencil and then she inked them.
Okay.
And this is hidden,
Yes.
right? Hidden
Yep.
figures.
The photos behind you. Yep. I gotta watch that one.
Oh yeah, and so what's behind me here is she sent me those. She printed those off and used them to make the illustrations, right? And then she sent them
Gotcha.
to me with
Yep.
the originals. Okay,
Oh
so
wow.
this one is just in a small frame
Yep.
from Thelma and Louise.
Yep.
Yeah, no, she's amazing. And
I
so
know.
I
That's awesome.
really, okay, so typically authors don't get to pick the illustrations that,
Hmm.
like, who the illustrator will be. But
What? Are you serious?
well, unless it's an illustrated book, right? That is like a big part of the book. Um, Typically, authors don't have any decision making power about the cover of the book.
Are you serious? Oh, that's all about the
Right.
publisher?
That's the publisher who decides
No
typically.
way.
Yeah, no,
What?
you
That's
basically have to
insane.
be
Fuck
Joanne
that.
Rowling to decide what's on the cover of your book. So,
Wow.
but these
Huh.
illustrations, I love them so much.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that my publisher will say, yeah, we love
Yeah.
them. We've got to put them because I find them really uplifting. I'm just going to show
Mm-hmm.
you Hidden Figures again. It's just,
Yeah, I love that one. It's beautiful. Yeah, I haven't seen her do art. I actually interviewed her a couple of
yeah,
podcasts
I
ago.
watched your interview.
Yay! I bought her book after that. I haven't had time to go through it just because there's so much crap going on. But I haven't seen her do art of drawing, replicating someone's face. That's definitely difficult. So I
Mhm.
loved seeing her do that because I was like, oh, it's kind of like an art medium or a form I haven't seen her do, and she did it really well. With her signature in it. Awesome. Love her story and what she does. I love it. How'd you get paired up with her?
So Stella and I are both on Spinster,
Ah, yep.
and
Me too. Woot. The one platform where women can be women. Yeah.
yeah, no, Spinster's awesome.
It's probably just
I
that. Yeah.
can't like I think I was just
The power of
I
the
don't know.
internet.
I think we just became friends on Spinster, and
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah.
yeah, she asked me if I'd like some illustrations for my book, and I said Yeah, are you kidding? Of
That's
course.
awesome.
I would love some illustrations for my book.
Yeah,
And
how much?
so
Go ahead. Go ahead.
and so she actually did quite a few. I've posted several on my website. She
Hmm.
did Little Women the 2019, The Wizard of Oz. I'm just looking at my
Oh, yeah,
wall
yeah.
here because I've got right. The Sound of Music, Gone with the
Love
Wind.
it.
She did a bunch of them. And
Yep.
I also saw that recently you interviewed another friend of mine, um, Linda Blade,
Yes, she's a
Coach
badass. I love
Blade.
her. Full of knowledge. I mean, we all are, but man, she's
She is a
fantastic.
Canadian national treasure, Linda
I
Blade.
know. I keep hearing that. I love how they. Yep, I know that. I was like, wow, that cover. I'm blown away by that how it got. The fact that that's on a cover in 2021. I was like, damn, that's woo. Is
Actually,
that sending a message?
so
Nice. Heck
so I
yeah.
got two because I got one copy to mail to the Prime Minister
Oh,
of Canada.
nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so I I actually asked other women if they'd like to sign the card, and there
Oh,
are
wow.
80 women, well,
Nice.
87 women and I
Mm-hmm.
have added our names to the card,
Excellent.
and I'll probably mail it out this afternoon or tomorrow.
Awesome.
He needs to be educated.
Yeah, I know. 100%. Can you name like five movies that are just wonderful or offer things
Yeah,
for women, offer good things?
yeah.
Or if you have
So,
a top 10 or whatever.
well, okay. So movies that have a lot to offer female viewers, and I kind of think that women, like adult women, should have seen these movies. 9 to 5,
So good.
which came out in 1980, and that movie
Hilarious.
has more to offer female viewers than a ton of movies coming out
Yep.
that just came out in 2020. So 40 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Thelma and Louise, Hidden Figures, of course. Little Women the 2019. That's probably the one that has the most to
Oh,
offer
really? You
women.
like that one the most out of all the remakes?
It yeah, for
Hmm.
so it I would say that it has the most to offer female viewers when you
Nice.
take into consideration everything,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Interesting.
About
Hmm.
the treatment, the portrayals, everything,
Yep.
how much speaking time they get, everything.
Yep.
Little Women 2019, right? Made in Dagenham,
Oh, how do you spell that?
Dagenham. That came out in 2010, and that's based on the real story
Hmm.
of the English women in Dagenham. Dagenham is the name of a town
Oh,
in England. So they
interesting.
fought for equal pay in a
Oh.
Ford factory.
Oh, it sounds amazing.
It's an
Writing it
amazing
down.
movie.
Yep.
Um, on the Basis of Sex, which came out in 2018. There are a lot. Fried Green Tomatoes, The First Wives Club, Suffragette,
Yes,
actually.
I watched that one recently and I was like, oh, yep.
2015,
It was
Suffragette.
so 90s. My husband and I watched it recently and we're because it has all like the cliche 90s camera angles and but honestly it still holds up and I found it to be a wonderful time capsule of like 90s cinema. Like the music, the camera, the effects, just the actors, actresses, whatever. I mean, actors. Do people say actresses anymore? Like I say
I do.
both. Yeah.
I do because I just don't like using androcentric language to
Yeah.
refer to females. So if
Yeah.
there is a female term, then I prefer to
Why
use
not? Yeah.
that.
Yep.
But so I actually pay very little attention to things like the score, the lighting,
Mm.
the technical aspects
Oh.
don't interest me much at all.
Oh, I'm big on that.
I mean, I expect that in the 2020s or even in the 21st century, even from 2000, even before then, everybody should have mastered all of that. Like the technical aspects
You'd
should
be
be mastered.
surprised. Yeah.
Like your average teenager in a first world country probably possesses the technology, right? A middle class kid to
Yeah.
make an okay movie.
Yep. I
So
pick up on that stuff because I'm an artist and I did editing audio and stuff in college and I edit more now as well. And I don't know. Like Suicide Squad, I was like, I'm gonna go take a nap. This is terrible. They crammed music like back to back. It's like they wanted a double CD to put out with the movie just to like it was so forceful. I'm like, that shit just sticks out to me like no other. But you clearly you have a vision when you look at movies and you review movies,
well, I'm
which is
interested
great.
in shining a spotlight on something that
Yep.
doesn't get any attention anywhere else. And
Yeah.
Suicide Squad is
It's not even worth talking
so
about.
damaging. It has
Trash. It's absolute trash.
that
You don't
is
have to discuss it at all.
that is yeah, that's a great example of the crazy bitch character that
Yeah,
is
oh, that's what I wanted
so
to
that
ask
we
you. We didn't get
see
into that.
all over the
Yes.
place.
Yep.
The crazy bitch character, she is becoming very commonplace, and Suicide Squad has one of those.
A
Um,
Harlequin movie, women see that as a like an empowering woman. I don't know. Like I came from the cosplay scene and the amount of female costumers that chose Harlequin to costume, I'm like, you have literal daddy issues. This isn't anything I'm not like, you suck, you have this. I'm just like, this is what I see. Daddy issues, that's it. I mean, like, so violent and just like, I'm a maniac. Ha ha ha. It's cool to be psycho. It's
yeah,
cutesy. Like, bash your head in. Like, yikes. All I can recommend to you is therapy, and there's nothing wrong with being fucked. I mean, you're not. I try not to frame this in a way of like, you're a terrible person if you have issues. Like, we all have issues. Just, you need to go to therapy, talk therapy. Don't stop doing therapy until you find the one that works for you. That's all I can say.
male filmmakers really enjoy portraying females as crazy bitches.
You don't say.
This is has been going on for a really long time. But if you
Yeah.
look at Suicide Squad, just if you just consider the way that the members of the squad are described, okay? The men are described, or the males are
Hmm.
described this way. He can burn people. He's a crocodile. But the woman, played by Margot Robbie, is described this way. She's just crazy. So she has no skills, like according to the description anyway. No skills. She's just mental. Like she's
Yeah, this is coming from a movie that
how
people have
can
like
that appeal
special.
to female viewers? Like, what are you giving us? You're giving us nothing. Why should we pay you our hard-earned money to watch your movie when you are offering us, not only are you offering us nothing, you are reinforcing regressive stereotypes about females.
Yeah, framing it in like a badass, empowering, ridiculous, pseudo empowering thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, so the most famous crazy bitch characters: Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction, 1987. Kathy Bates in Misery, 1990.
Yep.
Okay, this one you may not know, it's lesser known, but if you had been a teenager in the 90s, you would know about it. The Hand That Rocks the Cradle came
Oh,
out
oh
in
my God, are you
1990.
joking? I definitely
Oh,
remember
really?
that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I
Rebecca De
remember I love
Mornay,
movies. Yeah.
crazy bitch.
Yeah.
Um, Serial Mom, 1994.
Single white female, whatever.
Serial
What is
Mom.
it called? Oh, I haven't
Serial
seen that.
Mom, 1994,
There's so many.
with Kathleen Turner.
Single white female, which I saw recently, and I was like, wow.
Single
Okay.
White Female. Obsessed, 2009. When the Bow Breaks, 2016. The Huntsman Winter's War, 2016. And then in 2016 again, Suicide Squad, Margot Robbie. But if you look, and so here too we've seen an escalation. If you look at, say, the movies that came out in the 80s,
Mm.
90s,
Mm-hmm.
those crazy bitches, right? Like crazy bitch. I don't call women bitches, but
Yeah.
for the purpose of this conversation,
Yeah.
if you look at Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction,
Mm-hmm.
okay, she was fairly modestly dressed. If you look at Kathy Bates in Misery, 1990, she was dressed like a librarian cat lady, like right from head to toe. Like all you could ever see were her hands and her face. If you look at Kathleen Turner in Serial Mom, came out in 1994, she looks like a Stepford wife, basically. But then if you make the jump to Suicide Squad in 2016, Margot Robbie is
stripper.
Yeah. So you go from like librarian in the 90s to stripper in the 2010s.
What is that about?
That is about the hypersexualization of the female characters in feature films.
Yeah.
That's where we've gotten to, like, I mean, and that's the backlash. Because things were going well in the 80s and 90s. Things were looking up. Mm-hmm. Things were getting more progressive. And so now there's been a backlash and things are, I mean, that's part of it, right? It's a puzzle. There are lots of different parts. Mm-hmm. So.
Yep.
No, I honestly I would be very happy if for the rest of my life there were no more crazy bitch characters. I've seen enough of them.
Yeah.
What is this giving? What is this bringing to the table? Nothing.
Yep. Something I've noticed, I think we discussed a little bit. I don't know if I mentioned that, but whenever I look at, when I open Hulu or HBO, I want people to pay attention to the movie or TV show that they're pushing on the viewer. And what I mean by pushing is the thing that is advertised to you front and center. And time and again, I believe it's Hulu, it's always movies about women being murdered, women murdering, women having, one of them was like a plant gets in, or a chip gets implanted into a woman's brain and she becomes like half robot, which transhumanism, don't even want to get into that. And now she's it was not like an empowered thing, it was like enslaved basically. But time and again, it's always about female, bad, not good stuff. Like, I'm not good with words here, but just like, nothing empowering, nothing redeeming, nothing sweet, nothing kind. It's so messed up. And I'm like, obviously I have this lens on of, it's not even a lens. It's like, well, look at it. Look at what is being pushed to you. And this ad, I've been seeing these ads for Hulu shows on Twitter. And it was literally this like Twitter image that was like pink with a little heart. And the two shows they were pushing for obviously women was Handmaid's Tale and Pose. And Pose is about the drag culture. And I'm like, neither of these are great for women, and I feel like it's grooming women to like be the liberal feminist sex workers work. Men can become women and blah blah blah. I'm just like, wow, and it's just so, to me it's so obvious what that is. Like, God, people, and this happened to me too. Like, I didn't have the awareness of how advertising and media is, they push a certain agenda or they try to, persuade you subtly. I guess it's not so subtle when you really look at it and think of it like that. But I think it is subtle to most of us. You don't really think about the stuff that, like, ads, okay? Just start paying attention to ads that you see.
Product placement exists for a reason. Mm-hmm. Because people are influenced by movies. But so can I play another little game with you and your viewers? Okay, ready. So how can you name a movie in which a woman plays the President of the United States? And is this a trick
question?
No, it's not a trick question. It's like, it's kind of like the question before. Can you name a movie in which no two men ever speak? Can you name a movie in which a woman plays the President of the United States?
I feel like it definitely exists. Is it a black woman?
Okay, I will give you a list of movies. I'll name some movies in which men have played the President of the United States, a fictional President of the United States, typically, right? Yeah. Jeff Bridges, Bruce Boxleitner, James Cromwell, George Clooney, Leslie Nielsen, Billy Bob Thornton, Michael Keaton, Peter Coyote, Terry Crews and Luke Wilson, Bruce Greenwood, James Caan, Kelsey Kramer, William Hurt, Stephen Colbert, Danny Glover, William Devan, Aaron Eckhart, Jamie Foxx, William Sadler, Samuel L. Jackson, Andy Garcia. Okay, you get where I'm going with this? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you name a movie in which a woman has played the president of the United States? I cannot name one.
Yeah, does it exist?
Not that I've seen, but okay, so this is the thing. I don't think I've seen that many more movies than your average Gen Xer.
Mm-hmm.
But I have analyzed way more movies than most people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Most people do not watch movies with a pad and a pen taking notes.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that I've seen every movie out there.
Right.
So if I would love to know if someone in your audience can name me a movie in which a woman has played the president of the United States, I would love to know that.
I feel like that just would be the laughing joke of the writer's room. I feel like if that would exist on any level, it'd be like a cartoon, because that's haha, you know what I mean? Not taken as seriously. You know what? There'd be so much backlash with men being like, "Oh, this is ridiculous."
I think the closest we got was with a screen portrayal of the president of the United States, played by a woman, was in a TV series called Commander-in-Chief, that starred Gina Davis. But that was a TV show. I'm talking about a feature film, so a mainstream movie. Hollywood has accustomed us to seeing women as other things, waitresses, nurses, prostitutes, not leaders. This is a big problem. We need to see more women in positions of power.
Yeah. Yep.
And okay, so if I can just bring this up one more time.
Yes, please.
This
Absolutely.
film guide. Okay, so this film guide, as the title clearly indicates, includes 501 film reviews. And this was published in 2002, I think. 2004. Okay, not included Thelma and Louise, The Stepford Wives, neither version, the 75 or the 2004. 9 to 5, Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Emma, Mansfield Park, The First Wives Club, A League of Their Own, Legally Blonde, Norma
These are
Ray.
classics out of 501. Even for males, there's so many men that love. I forgot about that one, A League of Their Own. I'm like, how can you not include that?
Okay,
and 9 to 5 weren't they? I thought these were really big movies.
They were really big movies. The thing is that what interests women is not what interests men.
Yes.
And what interests men is what gets all the money and all the attention.
Yeah. It's a man's world. Rich man's world.
It's a man's world. Yeah. It's definitely a rich man's world. Look at how long Harvey Weinstein got away with his crimes. Decades.
Yep. Horrible. Awful. Beyond belief, obviously. Wow.
So there was one other thing that I wanted to to bring up. Okay, so how common do you think it is? So one of the things that back up a little bit. One of the things that I focus on quite a bit is crimes perpetrated against female characters. And the reason for that is because I have a background in court interpreting. I was a court interpreter for 8 years before I finally retired.
Wait, what is that? What's a court interpreter?
So my first language is French, and I have a BA in translation. And so what a court interpreter does is say I'm in court and I am assisting the defendant who is a francophone who doesn't speak English. So everything the defendant says to the court, I say it, they say it in French, then I say it in English for the court. And then everything that the judge and the lawyers and the witnesses and what they say in English, I interpret it in French. I say it in French for the defendant. Right. But that's just one example. I could be doing this for the witness or for somebody else. Right. Anyhow.
So much pressure.
It was.
What if you say the wrong word, like a wrong descriptor? Wow. Amazing.
It was very stressful. Actually, after 6 years, I wanted to stop, but I needed the money, so I kept doing it for another 2 years. But over the course of those 8 years, I worked on quite a few sexual assault matters and child abuse
Mm,
matters. And when you're a court interpreter, you have to be blank. It's not
interesting.
your role to have an opinion, to express an opinion, to have a
Right.
reaction.
Yeah,
You
makes
have to be
sense.
blank.
God, I
So,
would fail that immediately.
so it became really, really frustrating not
Mhm.
ever being able
Sure.
to show any emotion or have to these heartbreaking cases where
God.
all
Wow.
these sexual abuse matters and these child abuse matters, the victims were always 100% of the cases, they were always women and girls, and the defendants, the perpetrators, or the accused, the defendant, they were always men,
Of course.
always 100% of the cases. Okay.
Yep.
I am very, very interested in violence against women and girls. It's a
Okay.
huge problem in our misogynist societies. So much so that in 2014 or 2015, the United Nations says there's a pandemic of violence against women.
Yep.
They've forgotten that. They seem to have forgotten that since then. Now they don't even know what a woman is. But anyhow, so one of the dozens of,
And your
yeah,
shirt.
yeah, one of
Woo!
one of the dozens of things I keep track of in films when I analyze them is the violence perpetrated against the female characters. For example, choking.
Mm,
Right. This is something we see a lot of in movies, is
yeah.
choking. So, for example, in these movies, in this following partial list of movies, I'm not going to name them all
Yeah.
because your show isn't that long. But okay, so these movies include a scene in which a man chokes a woman or grabs a woman by the neck. 300, Aquaman, Avengers Infinity War, Batman Forever, Blade Runner 2049, The Fate of the Furious, The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, The Hunger Games, Iron Man 3, Live Free or Die Hard, Mad Max Fury Road, The Mummy 2017, Scooby Doo 2002, Spectre, Total Recall 2012.
Wow, those are
That
like all in the 2000s. It sounds like almost all, like past, not 80s or relatively recent.
Um,
Seemed
it could have
like
been. It could, yeah, yeah, it could have been.
they seem way more recent than not.
Um, Here's a sample list of horror films that include a scene in which a male chokes a girl or a woman,
All of
or
them?
or grabs her by the neck. The Cabin in the Woods, The Exorcist, Get Out, Gremlins, 1984,
Hmm.
Halloween, both the 1978 and the 2018 version, Happy Death Day, Insidious Chapter 2, It, the 2017 version,
Wow.
Scream, that's 1996, Sweeney Todd the Demon, Barber of Fleet Street, Winchester, 2018. And that's just a partial list because
We're
we don't
men.
have
Yeah.
time to go
Yeah.
through all
I
of
know.
them.
I wonder at what rate, how many movies can you list even one off the top of your head of a male being choked by a female?
That's a good question for your audience too. If somebody in your audience can give me an example of that, I would be really curious to know.
Seriously.
But the thing is that the focus for me is just women and girls, how they're treated and
Yeah.
how they're portrayed. So I don't pay much attention to how men and boys are treated. That's just not the focus of my
Yeah.
nonfiction writing.
Hmm.
But men certainly perpetrate violence against other
Yeah.
males for
Hmm.
sure,
Hmm.
and that reflects reality. In
Hmm.
reality, the most of the violence perpetrated in the world is perpetrated by males.
Yep, that's the facts. That's just the facts. That's
Those are the
literally.
facts, and
Hmm.
those, yeah.
Wow, that's so fascinating. I love hearing. I mean, that's so interesting. I don't know. I love it. When did you start doing the movie stuff again? I think I already asked that, but I don't know. You said
Yeah.
I don't know if
So
you said what year.
2015, I started my first book, but the film guide started in 2018.
So when you
And
first started taking notes and analyzing movies,
no, that
what
was in
made you?
2015 that I started.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, I think that was um, a way for me of, because I was so powerless in the courtroom,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
I couldn't do
Interesting.
anything about all of the violence that I was,
How frustrating.
like,
Yeah.
I wasn't exposed to violence, but I was,
In a sense, you really were, though, having to,
but hear about it, like,
yeah,
for
as
hours,
your
right?
job.
And not being able to do anything about it. So the powerlessness. So the book was, I believe, a way of doing something
Yep.
about all of that violence that I couldn't do anything about in the courtroom. Like when you hear a little girl take the stand and she's
My
talking
God.
about how her father or some, a man in her life sexually abused her, and you can't do anything about it, and sometimes justice isn't served, and you
Of
just feel
course.
so
Yeah.
frustrated and angry. You have all these feelings. I
Yep.
think I decided to channel them into writing as a way to gain some power, I guess.
Yeah.
To Yeah. um I think that with the film guide, because the film guide really is a roadmap to
Mm-hmm.
cinema, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very detailed reporting on the contents of feature films, and maybe through exposing the contents of over 100 years of traditional cinema in
Mm.
all genres, because I don't just talk about horror movie or just about action adventure, right? I tackle drama, comedies.
Do you do animated films or just,
No,
okay.
there's children's movies is a chapter in my film guide,
Yeah,
but
but not animated. Yeah.
those aren't just animated. So some are
Yeah.
animated,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I talk about Shrek
Mm.
and Trolls, but they aren't just animated. So
Yeah.
where was I going with that?
My bad.
Right. So by tackling so many years, over 100
Mm-hmm.
years, and many genres, it's over 12 genres, then I think it exposes, without the shred of a doubt, what the problems are in the film industry,
Yep.
what exactly needs to change.
100%.
We need to see less violence against women. We need to see less sexualization of women and girls. We need to see more congeniality, more affection, more solidarity between women and girls. We need to see a lot less antagonism and hostility. We need to see more women in positions of power. We need to see them playing leaders, not just nurses, waitresses, and prostitutes,
Yep.
journalists. We see a lot of journalists, Well,
Yeah.
why aren't we seeing them being world leaders? Because, I think it's Gina Davis who said something like, so I'm paraphrasing, um, if she can see it, she can be it. She says something
Exactly.
like that. Like, if little girls were seeing movie after movie where the heads of states were women,
Mm-hmm.
that would encourage them to think, when I grow up, I could be a head of state,
Exactly.
right? Or a CEO, or we don't need to see just junior lawyers. We need to see women or like female characters who are playing partners in law firms. It's
Mm-hmm.
very rare, it's just one more example, right? It's very rare
Yeah.
to see women being the partners in law firms.
I can only think of one, but that's only because that's the only one I can think of. Is that's a TV show though, Daredevil. She was something I don't remember, but no, you're completely right, and I think the work that you're doing is really important, and I honestly cannot wait for. Do you have any like estimated time when the book will be released?
Unfortunately, I don't. I would love to share this information with women right now.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Honestly, it would nothing would make me happier, especially with Stella's illustrations,
I
because I
know.
love them. But I'm waiting, going the traditional route with this. So,
Hmm. I guess
um,
a question I
but
wanted to ask, or do you want to go ahead?
oh well, I just wanted to say that with the reporting on the treatment and portrayals of women, there's a similar thing. Black people are saying a similar thing. A lot of Black people have said, you know what, we're tired of being portrayed as
Yeah.
slaves,
Yep.
right? I love the movie The Help, but I can also see how Black people would be tired of seeing themselves portrayed as slaves and really low level in all, or criminals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I mean, that's part of the reason why I enjoy Hidden Figures so much, why so many women enjoy Hidden Figures so much, right? Is not only do we have three very intelligent women making a difference at NASA, but they're Black.
Mm-hmm.
They're not playing waitresses. They're not playing slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Or housemaids.
Getting shit done positions.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask is, I guess I should have started off. Well, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Was your mother very feminist? Like embraced? Like, was this?
Yeah. So I was raised by a single mom who was a second wave feminist. So in the living room bookshelves, there were books by, Gloria Steinem.
Wow. Lucky.
Marilyn French, Germaine Greer.
Oh,
awesome.
Just yeah,
and etc. A lot of. Yep. So I've considered myself a feminist since I was 16. Although I suspect I probably was one before that, just without realizing, without using the word. But definitely, right. And I'm 46 now. So for the last 30 years, I've been calling myself a feminist.
Nice.
And for the longest time, I actually just equated the word feminist with the word woman, because a feminist is basically a female who champions the rights of females. So it made sense in my mind for the longest time that if you're a female, you're a feminist, because why wouldn't you champion the rights of your own sex class?
That's a great question.
Right?
That's the liberal feminist. God.
Liberal feminist.
You're really blessed in that way. I definitely wasn't raised. I mean, I think a lot of women aren't raised like that. So I think you had a wonderful upbringing. Sounds like. I don't know if you had interest in it.
Well, I wouldn't say it was a wonderful upbringing. Well, but just
I guess it's better late than never for me or other women that find it eventually, hopefully. But
for getting to know the women's movement, and in the first and the second modern waves of feminism, in that respect, it was really helpful. It was great to have a mother who was strong and independent.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I mean,
it's something
modeled off of. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that your life or anyone's life is perfect by any means, but I just didn't have that model, and again, like I don't think a lot of women do necessarily, because it's so stigmatized. Like, yeah, I was so hesitant calling myself anything feminist, because I said this so many times, but feminism to me was like annoying, loud, opinionated. Like, this is so I know it's misogynistic, but I had this very male idea behind anything feminist related. I mean, that word is still demonized. It's just so made fun of to this day. I mean, I
find
think
it
most
such
of
a shame.
I know. I think most of it is talking about liberal feminism, which is, I'm like, I get it, but it also is like, people aren't even fucking aware of radical feminism, liberal feminism, not the same thing. I mean, I didn't know that, for God's sake. Like, I think people
That's something I discovered recently. Honestly, I only discovered liberal feminists and their whole sex work is empowering in the last few years, but the idea that the sexual exploitation of women could be empowering is just so bonkers.
I know. I'm just like,
wow. You do the misogyny for them.
I think that's all it's all media
so
and
bizarre.
Hollywood pawns. I think that's mostly like programming and males putting that in whatever advertising. I think just so many, Billie Eilish bullshit. It's just people have sold their souls and they're being used. They're just absolute puppets. Yeah. I mean, I could go off about that, but yeah.
Well, we need more positive role models, and that's why I think it's really good for women and girls to see movies like Suffragette or Made in Dagenham.
Especially now, yeah.
To see women fighting back Like
Mm-hmm.
suffragette, you see women fighting back against
Mm-hmm.
misogyny. That's very uplifting,
Yes.
right? In
100%.
Made in Dagenham, you see women fighting for equal pay, something that we still don't have. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are in the US, but in Canada, we're still, Canadian women still don't make a dollar, for the men. Like it's still, we don't have equal pay yet. It's not a dollar for a dollar. I think it's 87 cents or
Mm.
something like that. Like it's not even 90 cents for every time a man makes a dollar. Like in Quebec, or sorry, in Canada, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm from Quebec originally.
Mm-hmm.
In Quebec, men prevented women from getting the vote until 1940. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just learned not too long ago the Boston Marathon didn't allow women until like 1984 or something. I was like,
Yeah,
what? And when they
yeah.
did, I think was that the same year where that woman got assaulted by the organizer for the damn marathon? They got
Oh,
photos of it. He like jumped out of a car. Yeah. It
oh,
was
I didn't know
wild.
that she was
Oh, you
assaulted.
haven't seen
No.
that? I think that was Boston Marathon. It was one of the marathons. It's like legendary. Woman ran in it, and I think it was her husband running next to her and men running alongside her. And for the most part, she got, yay, wow, whoa, a woman. But I think it was the literal organizer for that marathon that jumped
Oh,
out of a
yeah.
vehicle and like tried to pull her shirt, and the men like ran into him to get him the fuck off her. I was like,
I've seen a black
wow.
and white picture, but I didn't
Yeah,
realize it was one of the organizers.
I
That's
think that's what I
really,
read. Yeah,
really
yeah.
telling. Really
I,
telling.
I I know. I
Like,
was like, "Fool, did you set up the cameras to photograph you? Like, did you think that would work in your favor somehow?" So
well,
that happened, and
okay.
she, yeah,
So, but we always frame it in a way that glosses over who the perpetrators are,
mm,
who is doing this. Like we say, women weren't allowed to run in the Boston Marathon until 1984.
mm.
Okay,
I could be off on the year. Don't quote me. I'm sure I'm
okay,
off.
but what really happened? No, I think that's right.
Mm.
What really happened is men prevented women from running in the
Yes,
Boston
thank you.
Marathon
Yeah,
until 1984, just like men prevented women in Quebec from voting until 1940.
just like
Men
men rape
are
women, women don't get raped. Men rape women. They
that's right.
never
That's
write that in
exactly it.
headlines. I'm so bad. I really try to
Yeah.
consciously work on framing that accurately. Thank you so much for correcting. Really, it's accurate saying a man raped a woman, not woman gets raped. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Well, and if you say woman gets raped, I mean, you're you're protecting
Yeah,
the perpetrator.
you don't even state that it's a man.
Why?
For God's sake,
Why are we doing that? Why
I
aren't
know
we
why.
just,
Men protect men.
like if you think of, like, I have two sons, and when they were little, if one of them bashed the other one over the head, I wouldn't say to my husband, and so for the purpose of this interview, I'll just call them James and Johnny, but those aren't their
Mm-hmm.
real names.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say to my husband, James got hit over the head. I would say, Johnny smacked James over
Yes.
the head, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
so why are we all like, the woman gets raped? No, like, man, so it would be like Toronto man rapes woman,
Mm-hmm.
38-year-old woman or whatever, right? Well, like,
Yep.
we shouldn't be protecting them. And maybe
No.
if there was less of this protecting perpetrators, maybe there would be fewer perpetrators.
Hmm. Yeah. Shame and guilt, or I don't even know. Yeah. 100%.
So,
It's so
and like
important.
a sort of a related but different thing is the way we name serial killers. I mean,
Mm.
serial killers are predominantly men. Like
Yeah.
like the vast majority. I'm not saying that there has never been a serial killer who is a woman, because there have been, but the vast majority of serial killers have been men, and we're always naming them. Why are we naming them? That's
Mm.
just like, we
Hmm.
should be naming their victims
Yes.
and not naming them.
Exactly. I know. Let's make movies
and
about.
and and making movies about
Yeah.
them, like, that is totally insane. What
Totally
message does
glorifying.
that send to young men? If you're a total loser and you don't know what to do with your life and
Yeah.
you're going nowhere,
Exactly.
become a serial killer because someday somebody will make a movie about you. Like, that is one way for you to achieve fame. You can't achieve anything else in your life, but you could achieve fame this way. Well, infamy.
Exactly. That's the
I
whole thing.
mean,
I remember that. I remember thinking about that, and I believe the media or someone made a accurate stink about it with the Columbine killers, that they were naming, naming them, and showing their faces. And I vividly remember, I don't know who it was that was like, stop doing this. Like, we need to stop naming these killers because it's giving them notoriety, fame, whatever. It doesn't matter if they're dead or alive. They still are being blasted. Just the fact that, yeah, exactly what you said. Blasted over the news like nonstop. It's like, you don't need to name these people, dude. In any, like, at all. They're not necessary. Name the victims. We should be remembering the people that died needlessly at the hands of these maniacs. That's such a, I wish that was enforced. I think that some journalists take that seriously on naming them or how they frame how it's written. Spoke to someone about that, and I wondered, like, which journalists or news companies honor that system of not being very careful about how they report on these things. I don't even know who takes that seriously. I didn't even know it existed, that people actually cared about that.
well, it's like the reporting on suicides, right? I mean, when you
Yeah, that
report on a
too.
suicide, you're supposed to, their guidelines for reporting on this, so that you're not triggering, encouraging other people to go down the same path of self-harm, right? You're supposed to be, like, it's responsible journalism.
What is it supposed to be? You're not supposed to name that. How is that framed? I have no idea.
I read the guidelines once a long time ago. I don't remember exactly, and because I'm not a journalist, I don't need to know what the
Yeah.
guidelines are exactly.
No, I was just curious.
But but I even hesitated for half a second there before I used the word.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It's good. It's good to think about
just
things. Yep, that stuff has
well,
a serious impact.
there in there in some respects you need to be careful,
Yeah, for sure.
right? I mean, we should be aiming. Everybody should be aiming for a better world, a happier, more hopeful world. So, if
Yep.
there's anything we can do, then we should be doing it.
Yes. Well said. Wow. Well, this has been amazing. Is there any last things you want to add?
Um, can I plug my friend
No, I
Linda's
was gonna
book
say, yeah, I
again?
was gonna say if there's any links or where people can find you and whatnot. Yay!
Go buy this book,
Where can they
because
buy it?
unsporting, how trans activism and science denial destroying sport. They can, well, they can order it off of Amazon, but people should contact their local library and request it. They
Yep.
should contact their independent bookstore. That's my favorite option, always, your independent bookstore, and ask them to order it in. But I understand if you're like me, super impatient, and you want a copy of the book to send to the Prime Minister, then you just order it off of Amazon.
Yeah.
Um,
Isn't the website
but
for that the unsporting.com, I believe?
that's right.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
just remember that.
Unsporting.com.
What about where can we
She is
find
a
you?
national
Or
treasure.
yeah, I've
Coach
heard.
Wade.
She's awesome.
Yeah. Where can people find me? So on my YouTube channel, AC Picks, there are lots of really uplifting movie clips on this
Yep.
channel. So ladies, if you are interested on the basis of sex or suffragette or whatever, and you just want to see a clip from the movie, I've got a bunch of clips on this channel. And I also have some film commentaries for my Japanese socks film commentaries, but there aren't very many. It isn't a visual experience, it's a listening
Yeah.
experience, even though it's a YouTube, because really it's just a shot of my socks, right? So it's not super fascinating. I've also got a website that has lots and lots of film commentary on there. It's sexualizationofwomen.com, sexualization with a Z. And if you want to, so this is kind of a 5-minute discussion.
If you
I don't
want,
know.
go for it.
Okay. So this is another way to support Vancouver Rape Relief and Women's Shelter. Last June, I self-published a wee coffee table book entitled What is a Woman? Here it is. Awesome. And 50% of the profits from the sale of that book go to me, and then I send them a check. Vancouver Rape Relief and Women's Shelter. And part of the reason I did this, the reason that I'm sending 50%, I'm giving 50% of the profits to them is because in 2020, Vancouver Rape Relief and Women's Shelter lost its city funding due to its women-only policy. It refused to allow men who self-identify as women to access the shelter and rape crisis center. And that annual municipal funding represented roughly $34,000. So that's a lot of money to lose for standing up for women and saying, no, like, actually, we're going to protect women. We're going to keep protect women. So it's a lot of money to lose.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that. And they can find the book through your website links, I'm assuming?
There's
or Amazon as well?
There's probably a link. No, that's sold through Blurb. So I can send you the link to that. Yeah. But there's through blurb.ca is where they would order it.
I'll put it in the description box.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Yeah, last June, when I discovered that the world had gone completely mental bonkers.
Yep.
I decided to make this little coffee table book as a reminder, because so many people seem to have forgotten what a woman is. It has nothing to do with film.
What? No, it's fine. I mean, this is all completely relevant, for sure. Thank you so much for doing what you do. That's your voice matters, my voice matters, and just making a book, doing the blog stuff, just not stop, fighting for women and girls. It has such a huge impact. Like, somehow we just find each other, especially, I guess the one good thing about the internet is me and other women connecting with other women that are
that's a great
advocates
thing.
And
that we can find each other.
Especially not even the same country, and got connected to you and Stella and all these other powerful women.
Well, I think if I couldn't talk about these injustices in some way, it would be terrible, especially because of the court interpreting and the 8 years of listening to all of these horrendous stories about women and girls. So it's a way of coping. It's a coping mechanism, right? But thank you very much for having me on. Really appreciate it. Really enjoyed talking to you today.
Yay. Thank you so much. Well, catch y'all later.